Hello friends, welcome to the Reading Mindset. Today, we're going to talk about the mind-gut connection by Emeran Mayer. Sam's life used to be very simply a 9-to-5 job, weekends with some Netflix, and hanging out with friends. But for the past few months, Sam couldn't figure out what was happening to him. His stomach always felt strange, sometimes gas, sometimes constipation, and sometimes a restlessness he couldn't explain. But the biggest issue was that his mood would change rapidly. He'd get irritated over small things, feel anxious for no reason, and sometimes it felt like everything was meaningless. Sam thought maybe it was too much work pressure or perhaps he was overthinking. But when these feelings didn't go away for weeks, he decided to talk to a therapist. The therapist listened to him carefully and asked one question: "How's your stomach doing?" Sam was a bit surprised. He said, "What does my stomach have to do with my mood?" The therapist smiled and replied, "There's a very deep connection. Actually, your brain and gut are constantly talking to each other. There's a long wire, the vagus nerve that connects the brain and the stomach. And it's not just one-way communication, signals go back and forth. Your stomach isn't just for digesting food, it also controls your mood and behavior." Sam didn't believe it. He thought this was some new wellness trend or pseudoscience. But the therapist calmly explained that the gut is also called the second brain because it has over 100 million neurons, almost as many as in the spinal cord. There's an entire ecosystem theory, the gut microbiome, with trillions of bacteria. These bacteria don't just help with digestion, they also produce neurotransmitters like serotonin, which directly affect your mood. Sam started to get interested. He remembered that when his stomach was functioning well, he felt good overall, more confident, more productive. But since his stomach issues started, he'd been finding negativity in everything. The therapist gave him another example: "Have you ever noticed that when you're nervous, your stomach feels unsettled? Like before an interview or when you're about to say something important?" Sam nodded. "That butterfly in the stomach feeling, exactly." The therapist said, "That happens because of the brain-gut connection. Your brain sends a signal that you're stressed, and the gut reacts immediately. But this process works the other way too. If your gut is unhealthy, it sends negative signals to the brain, which can cause anxiety, sadness, and even depression-like symptoms." Now Sam was completely intrigued. He asked, "So, does that mean if I take care of my gut, my mind will feel better too?" The therapist smiled and said, "Exactly. That's why mental health and gut health are now looked at together. Diet, probiotics, stress management, sleep, these are all important for the gut and indirectly heal your brain too." Sam started to understand a lot about his life. In the past few months, he'd become dependent on junk food, too much oily food, processed food from outside, drinking less water, disturbed sleep, and almost zero physical activity. Maybe that's why his gut was messed up, and with it, his mind too. That day, Sam made a decision: he would heal his gut. But he didn't want an overnight change. He started slowly. He began each morning with a glass of warm water. Then he included fermented foods in his diet: yogurt, pickles, and homemade congee. He gradually reduced sugar and processed foods and started eating more fruits, vegetables, and fiber-rich foods. It wasn't just about diet. Sam also began managing his stress. Before, he'd react to small things, but now he'd pause and do deep breathing. He tried meditation. It felt weird at first, but after a few weeks, his mind started feeling calmer. The most noticeable change was that his stomach felt lighter and more settled. One day, Sam was working in the office when his boss suddenly came to him and said, "Sam, you seem very focused lately. You're handling everything on time and neatly. Well done." Sam smiled and said thanks, but in his mind, he thought, just a few months ago, this work felt so overwhelming. I used to doubt myself, everything seemed complicated. But now he was feeling clarity. That night, Sam reached home and sat on the balcony, sipping tea, feeling the changes within him. He now understood that health isn't just about abs or muscles. True health is when the mind and body work as a team. The signals sent daily through the vagus nerve define how we see the world, how we react, and how we feel about ourselves. Sam had now learned to listen to his stomach. If he ever felt slight heaviness or unease, he knew something was off, or maybe his diet or stress. If you like our free summary, you can subscribe to our channel, buy our membership, or support us through UPI. Now, back to the summary. He treated himself gently and no harsh diets, just a little care, a little awareness. Slowly, his confidence started returning. He no longer felt doubtful about himself. He knew that if his mind wasn't feeling good, maybe his gut was sending a signal, and he was ready to listen. This story isn't just Sam's, it happens to all of us. Sometimes the mind messes up, sometimes the stomach, but the connection between the two is deep. The gut isn't just a pathway for food, it's an intelligent system that silently controls our emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. And when we give it good food, some rest, and a bit of exercise, it gives us peace, energy, and clarity in return. So, the next time you feel anxious or upset, don't just blame your mind. Talk to your stomach too, it might be trying to tell you something. Because the real connection isn't just through Wi-Fi, it's through the gut too. Sam's life was now going much better. The care he'd taken of his gut over the past few months was clearly showing results. His stomach was settled, his energy levels were high, and most importantly, his mood wasn't as up and down as before. Every day felt more balanced. But one day, something happened that made him think about the gut on a deeper level. His old friend Kabir, who had become a medical researcher, returned to the city after many years. They decided to meet at a cafe to copyright for a long chat. As soon as they sat down, Kabir noticed a change in Sam's personality. "You weren't this calm before, Sam," Kabir said, taking a sip of tea. Sam smiled and said, "Yeah, I've made some lifestyle changes, especially working on my gut health." Kabir's eyes lit up with interest. "Nice. So, have you read anything about the gut microbiota?" Sam was a bit confused. "Microbiota? You mean bacteria and stuff?" "Exactly." Kabir got a little excited. The gut microbiota is the trillions of microbes living in our digestive system. But their job isn't just digestion, they influence our immunity, emotions, and even brain chemistry. Sam was now fully attentive. "So, the bacteria in my stomach control both my mood and my immune system?" Kabir nodded. "Yes, actually, when you started eating gut-friendly foods like probiotics and fiber-rich foods, you strengthened your microbiota. And those microbes are now making neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine for you. Serotonin, which is also called the feel-good chemical, is actually produced 90% in the gut, not the brain." Sam's eyes widened. "I always thought all that was the brain's job." "Most people think that," Kabir said. "But science has now proven that the gut microbiota works like both a second immune system and a second brain." Between sips of tea, Sam started recalling some old moments in his life, those days when he'd get frequent colds and minor infections. He thought his immunity was weak because he ate outside food. But now that he was eating healthy, those problems had almost disappeared. "So, the microbiota controls immunity too?" Sam asked. "Absolutely," Kabir replied. "The good bacteria in the gut don't just fight harmful microbes, they also regulate the body, deciding when to give a strong reaction against a pathogen and when not to. Basically, the gut microbiota trains immune cells, like a teacher trains a student. And if the microbiota weakens, the immune system gets confused, sometimes it overreacts, sometimes it underreacts." Sam now started to understand how many unseen things were happening inside him that he never thought about. Emotions and health had always been a mystery in his life, but now things were slowly connecting. "And emotional regulation?" Sam asked eagerly. "Is that under the microbiota's control too?" Kabir said, The gut-brain axis isn't just a communication channel, it's the foundation of emotional balance. If the gut bacteria are diverse and healthy, they produce chemicals that naturally reduce anxiety, stress, and depression. But if the gut is imbalanced, mood swings and emotional instability become common. Sam took a deep breath. He now felt a little regret for his old habits of those days when he'd stay up all night, drowning in chips and soda. He thought he was just chilling, but now he realized he was slowly damaging his emotional and physical health. Reading his thoughts, Kabir said, "Look, we all make mistakes. But now that you're aware, you can repair yourself. And the best part is that the gut microbiota doesn't take long to recover. A few weeks of the right diet and rest can make a huge difference." After that evening, Sam's curiosity grew even more. He wasn't just eating gut-friendly food anymore, he was starting to understand the microbiota like a gardener understands their garden. Every fruit, vegetable, and spoonful of yogurt felt like he was making his microscopic friends inside him happy. He even started experimenting. Some days he'd eat more fermented foods, other times a high-fiber diet. And every time, his mood, energy, and even his skin felt better. One day, he casually looked in the mirror and noticed his face was glowing a bit. He laughed, "Maybe my gut bacteria are happy today." A few weeks later, during a project deadline at the office, the entire team was stressed. But Sam was surprisingly calm. While everyone was panicking, he was helping organize things, communicating calmly, and staying focused. His colleague jokingly asked, "Did you meditate before coming today?" Sam smiled and said, "No, my gut bacteria are just happy." Everyone laughed, but for Sam, this wasn't a joke. It had become the truth of his life. Sam now started spreading awareness among his friends and relatives too. His mom often had joint pain and digestive issues. He slowly introduced fermented foods to her, advised her to cut down on sugar, and fixed her sleep schedule. In 2 months, her energy was much better than before. Sam now understood that our body is a complex system, and the gut microbiota is its unseen but powerful part. These tiny organisms don't just digest food, they shield the immune system, make happy chemicals for the brain, and keep us emotionally strong. One time, sitting in the garden, he thought, "We always look for balance in the outer world, but the most important balance is inside us. If we nurture our gut, it can give us the mental peace and emotional clarity we search for in therapies and motivational talks worldwide." For Sam, health no longer meant just the gym or six-pack abs. He now understood that true strength comes from within, from those trillions of tiny friends working inside him silently, loyally. And this entire journey began with a simple realization: the gut and brain are connected. Sam now mentally thanked his gut microbiota with every breakfast because he had learned that if he heals his inner world, the outer world starts healing on its own. And this time, he wasn't just surviving, he was truly thriving. Sam's life was now moving in the right direction. Every morning, his routine was disciplined: waking up, drinking warm water, doing some stretching, and having gut-friendly breakfast like yogurt, banana, oats, or sometimes fermented idli dosa. He wasn't just eating food anymore, he was truly nourishing the micro-world inside him. But life isn't always a straight line. One day, something happened that made Sam face a new reality. His childhood friend Jaden, who now lived in the USA, came to India for a visit. Jaden lived a very modern, bold lifestyle. He branded clothes, gadgets, and a Western style in everything. They planned a weekend trip and headed to the mountains. On the way, Jaden said excitedly, "Sam, bro, now you get everything in India that I eat: 30 burgers, fries, soda, chocolate muffins. It's going to be fun." Sam smiled but was a bit hesitant. He politely told Jaden, "Bro, I'm a bit careful about what I eat now." Jaden laughed and said, "Come on, one day won't ruin anything. We're here to have a vacation, enjoyment is a must." And so began a 2-day food festival: rich breakfasts at the hotel, roadside fast food during the day, and pizza with soda at night. Sam let himself loosen up a bit. He thought, let's compromise a little. Moments with friends are important too. But on the third morning, when Sam woke up, he felt something wasn't right. His stomach felt heavy, his mood was a bit irritable, and his mind felt foggy. He noticed his energy wasn't the same as it was 2 days ago. What happened? He asked himself. Jayden seemed fine and asked, "What's wrong, bro?" Sam said softly, "I think my gut's upset." Jayden burst out laughing. "Gut? You've become a scientist now." Sam smiled, but inside, he was worried. For months, he'd been living with so much clarity and balance, and now just 2 days of unhealthy food had made him feel unstable again. While driving back home, Sam started thinking, how could just 2 days make such a difference? That evening, when he got home, he opened his gut journal, which he'd started keeping a few months ago. He wrote down everything from the past 2 days of what he ate, how he felt, how his sleep was, and what his mood was like. He started to understand that the Western diet Jayden follows a high in sugar, fat, and processed food, so was directly harming his gut microbial diversity. The next day, he started reading more on the topic. Research clearly stated, Western diets reduce microbial diversity and create imbalance by feeding harmful bacteria. Meaning, the refined sugar, saturated fats, and preservative-filled foods we eat kill the good bacteria in our gut and promote bad bacteria. As diversity decreases, immunity, mood, and digestion all start to go downhill. Sam learned another shocking fact: the gut microbiota loves variety. When we eat the same type of processed food repeatedly, it gets bored and weak. It's like having only one type of tree in a forest, so no birds or animals would stay. But if there are lots of different trees and plants, an entire ecosystem develops. It's the same with the gut. He remembered that when he used to eat high-fiber foods like vegetables, fruits, pulses, and fermented things, his health felt perfectly tuned. And now, just 2 days of indulgence had thrown everything off balance. He resolved to heal his gut again. From the next day, he stopped sugary and fried items and started eating more fermented foods. He included yogurt, congee, pickles, and sauerkraut in his diet. He also began consuming beans, oats, raw vegetables, and fruits in variety. At first, it was tough. A cravings hit, and his hand would automatically reach for chocolate or chips. But every time he resisted temptation, he felt something being restored inside him, as if his gut microbes were clapping inside. "Good job, Sam." Within a week, the difference was visible. His mind felt sharp again, his sleep improved, and most importantly, his mood stabilized. One day at the office, his manager casually asked, "Sam, your concentration has become very impressive. What's the secret?" Sam smiled and said, "Just made my food a bit gut-friendly." He now understood that Western diets only satisfy taste buds, not the body. And this temporary comfort can become long-term damage if we're not aware. A few days later, before returning to the USA, Jayden asked Sam, "Bro, how do you maintain so much discipline? I've started having gut issues too." Sam calmly said, "Bro, whatever we eat doesn't just satisfy our hunger, it shapes an entire world inside us. And if we don't take care of that world, it'll send us signals, sometimes through mood, sometimes through immunity." Jayden thought for a moment. "So, does that mean eating burgers can cause depression?" Sam laughed and said, "If you only eat burgers and stay away from fiber and fermented foods, then yeah, eventually your gut will be unhappy, and that'll affect your brain too." Jayden nodded. "All right, I'll try to keep some balance from now on." After that conversation, Sam had a realization: spreading awareness is also a service. He slowly started posting about gut health on social media in simple language, sharing photos and experiences of his transformation. People started connecting, asking questions, and many began improving their health. Sam felt like he hadn't just changed his own life, he was becoming part of others' healing journeys too. Now, whenever someone offered him sweets, burgers, or soda, he politely declined, thinking, "This might be for taste, but my gut family won't like it." And Sam was no longer alone. He had trillions of microscopic friends inside him who felt the impact of his every choice. The story didn't end here. It was the foundation of his new life, a life that rose above taste and temptation toward real health and happiness. And Sam no longer just saw food, he understood it as an invitation, a chance to nurture the ecosystem inside him. Because he now knew that a strong body, clear mind, and peaceful life all start from the gut. Sam's life had now become quite stable. His routine was set, his diet was balanced, and his mental clarity was intact. He had become so aware of gut health that whenever he felt like eating something new, he'd first think, "How will my gut microbes feel about this?" But as it often happens, no one knows when life turns from a calm, flowing river into a stormy sea. That day, something similar happened. A huge project suddenly came up at Sam's company. The deadline was just 2 weeks, and the client was international. There was no room for mistakes. Sam was made the project lead. At first, he felt confident, but as the days passed, the work pressure kept increasing. His days became 14 to 15-hour marathons of office meetings, responding to emails, preparing reports, and paying attention to every tiny detail. Everything was taking over Sam's mind. He was eating, but the attention, the mindfulness, was gone. Just eat quickly and get back to work, he'd tell himself. Fermented foods were replaced by instant noodles, probiotic yogurt by vending machine black coffee. Stress slowly started settling inside him. His sleep became disturbed at night, and his mind was always on alert, as if an emergency was about to happen. Sam couldn't understand why his body and mind weren't supporting him despite being so disciplined. Then one day, his head spun badly. While sitting in the office, he felt anxious, his heartbeat raced, and sweat appeared on his forehead. "Is everything okay?" his colleague asked. Sam replied, "I think it's too much stress." That evening, he came home early and sat quietly, thinking, "Has my gut gone bad again?" He took out his gut journal and read the entries from the past 10 days. His eating was irregular, his sleep was bad, and his mind was constantly in alert mode. He remembered reading once that chronic stress directly affects gut permeability. When we stay stressed for too long, small gaps form in the gut lining, called leaky gut. This allows harmful bacteria and toxins to enter the bloodstream, causing chronic inflammation in the body. Sam started to understand why his mood was swinging, why his memory felt weak, and why his digestion was off. Stress isn't just mental, it impacts every cell in the body in a physical form, especially the gut. And the gut is directly connected to the brain. The old connection of the friendship between the brain and gut came back to him. Sam made a new commitment to himself: "I won't just focus on food now, I'll also pay attention to my stress levels." He first tried to lighten his schedule. He requested his boss to move daily reporting to alternate days. Then he added 10 minutes of deep breathing to his mornings. Slowly, he started yoga too. At first, his body felt stiff, but with every pose, his nervous system began to relax. He felt like there was a storm inside him that was now slowly calming down. One day, he spoke to his old nutritionist friend, who said, "Sam, chronic stress keeps cortisol levels high constantly. This not only weakens the gut lining but also slows digestion and reduces serotonin production. That means your mood automatically becomes dull." Hearing this, another reality hit Sam. His happy chemical, serotonin, is 90% produced in the gut. If his gut is inflamed, how can the brain feel happy? He now started following stress-managing rituals every day: morning sunlight exposure, some journaling, and staying away from electronic devices at night. He also made a gratitude jar, where every night he'd write one small thing he was thankful for. In a few weeks, the difference was visible. Sam started feeling balanced again. His sleep improved, his digestion became smooth again, and most importantly, he started feeling like himself again. One day, he ran into his junior colleague Sneha at the office, who looked very anxious. Sam asked, "What's the matter?" Sneha replied, "Work pressure has increased a lot. I can't sleep at night, and food tastes bland." Sam smiled and said, "Heal your gut, and everything will start feeling right." Sneha was a bit confused. "Gut?" Sam said, "Let me explain. When we're stressed, our gut weakens. It starts leaking from the inside, and inflammation increases. Your mood gets low, your mind feels dull, and your body feels tired. But if we take care of our gut, mindful eating, probiotics, and stress management, things slowly start getting better." Sneha had never heard about gut health from this angle. She asked, "So, can breathing help the gut too?" Sam said, "Absolutely. Breath is the signal between the brain and gut. The deeper and more relaxed your breathing, the calmer the message your gut gets, and it does its job better." That day, Sneha took a small step like Sam. She started doing a 5-minute breathing exercise during office breaks. Sam was no longer just on his own healing journey, he was taking others along that path too. He understood that chronic stress is a slow poison. It doesn't show, it doesn't kill instantly, but it messes up every system inside, especially the gut. Now, whenever Sam found himself in a tense situation, he'd pause, take a deep breath, and tell himself, "Keep the gut's gate closed and no leakage needed." He started treating his meals as sacred again, eating without laptops or phones, chewing every bite, and asking himself, "Will this food make my microbes happy?" Every day was getting a little better. His mind was now working with his body, and together, they were creating a healthier Sam. Sometimes he thought, if I hadn't been aware of gut health, I'd probably be one of those millions who think daily stress is normal and keep going until their body completely gives up. Sam's life motto now was, "Stress will come, but I won't let it make a home in my body." Because he now knew that a peaceful mind and a healthy gut go hand in hand, that's when life's journey becomes smooth. Sam's life was now much more balanced than before. He had not only felt the deep connection between the gut and brain but had actively worked on it. The confidence that had once been lost due to stress and digestion issues was back on his face. But life sometimes throws a twist without warning, and such a twist came into Sam's life when he suddenly got a high fever and a severe throat infection. When he consulted a doctor, he was told it was a bacterial infection and wouldn't heal without antibiotics. Sam hesitated to take antibiotics, but the doctor said, "This time it's necessary, Sam. The infection could reach your lungs." After some thought, he started the prescribed antibiotic course. At first, everything seemed fine. The fever went down, the throat swelling reduced, and he started feeling energetic again. But a week after taking the antibiotics, some subtle changes began. First, he noticed a difference in digestion. He felt heaviness after meals, sometimes his stomach would bloat, and his stools became irregular. Then mood swings started too, irritation over small things, disturbed sleep at night, and a foggy mind during the day. Sam started getting worried. "I've gone back to the same diet, yoga, and breathing, so why is this happening?" One day, he reopened his old journal and noted his symptoms. Everything seemed fine except for one thing, the antibiotics. Then he remembered his nutritionist friend once telling him that antibiotics don't just kill harmful bacteria, they also wipe out the good microbes in our gut. Sam did some more research online. One article said, even a short course of antibiotics can damage the gut microbiota balance for months and even years. And this imbalance doesn't just affect digestion, it also impacts brain functions like mood, memory, and emotional regulation. He now understood that the antibiotics had wreaked havoc on the world of good bacteria inside him, and his gut-brain connection had weakened again. This time, it didn't take Sam long to realize that the solution lay in the same path, gut healing. But this healing journey was a bit different because the damage was deeper. Sam first started bringing fermented foods back into his daily routine. He began making yogurt at home and included traditional pickles and congee, naturally fermented drinks, in his diet. He also started taking probiotic supplements from the store, but only after consulting a doctor to ensure the right strain and dosage. The biggest challenge was patience. Sam had to understand that the microbiome damage caused by antibiotics wouldn't heal in a day. It would take time, weeks, not months. During this time, he also took care of his mental health. He kept reminding himself, "You'll get better again, just stay consistent." One interesting thing he noticed was that as his gut improved, his thoughts became more positive too. He wasn't anxious anymore, his focus improved, and he started finding joy in small things again. The gut-brain axis theory no longer felt like just a theory to Sam, he was living it in his own body. One day, as he sat on his balcony, soaking in the mild sunlight with a glass of turmeric milk in hand, he said to himself, "I started my gut healing journey out of necessity, but now it's become a part of my life." He knew the antibiotics were necessary, but now he thought about his gut before taking any medication. Sam also learned from this incident that prevention is always better. Now, if he got any kind of infection, he'd first try lifestyle remedies, boost his immunity, and treat antibiotics as the last option, not the first. A few months later, when his gut was back in balance, he started writing about his experiences in a blog titled The Gut Story, My Healing Journey. He shared everything: how stress affects the gut, how wrong eating habits weaken gut microbes, and how we can strengthen our gut again after antibiotics. Slowly, people started connecting with his blog. Some wrote, "Sam, reading your story made me realize my mood swings weren't just mental, they were because of my gut." Others wrote, "I was feeling low energy after antibiotics, but now I've started probiotics." For Sam, the biggest reward was that his own healing was becoming an inspiration for others. One day, he read an old journal entry from the day he was in panic, his body trembling, his mind scattered. Below that entry, he wrote, "Now I know how to listen to my body." Sam was no longer the same person. His thinking, his focus, his behavior, everything had changed. He knew that the gut is the place where healing begins, and happiness too. The story ends here, but Sam's journey doesn't, because the friendship between the gut and brain lasts a lifetime. Sam now takes care of the tiny microbes inside him every day because he has felt it, "When they're happy, I'm happy too." So, friends, that was our book summary for today. How did you like it? Please let us know in the comments, and thank you for listening to the summary until the end.